guys, it's Coach Nick Gloff here again with Camp Jansen with my Setting a Foundation series. This video is going to be on steps in general activity. So without further ado, we're going to get into it. First things first. So I'm going to cover something that it hits close to home for me because of the education that I've had and the furthering ed that I'm going through and all the things that I look at specifically as a coach, because I have built up for myself an eye for mechanics from all the things that I've done. One of the things that is kind of a nebulous concept within the world of strength training, bodybuilding, powerlifting, strongman, in this crossover between these competitive athletic fields in then the clinical setting of things that are just adjacent to it, so like PT, OT, AT, all these other things, and all the modalities that we pull from the clinical setting and pull into the sport to try and help us do our thing better. One of those things that has come across is the term corrective exercise. Corrective exercise is kind of a nebulous, undescript term that just means exercises that help you to move better in one way, shape, or form or another. So almost anybody that has done strength training, powerlifting training, bodybuilding training, any subgroup for any length of time and lives a pretty much normal life with a normal job doing normal things, just about everybody has come across some inflexibility, immobility, tightness, movement, inefficiency issues at one point or another in their training career. Or it's just a chronic thing that you never truly get over. And it's just always there and something you're struggling with. And you've gone through flexibility circuits, you've tried this drill and this thing and that thing, and just nothing seems to ever quite get it right. And if it does, it doesn't keep it that way for very long. Before thinking about corrective exercise or corrective movements, I'll say, are you moving at all? Seriously, are you moving at all during the day? That's the first question. Because if you're not just moving your body around and you're sitting at a desk hunched over a computer for 8 hours, and then you had to drive to work to sit in a chair for 8 hours, and then you sit in your car to drive back home for however long that takes, and then you go to the gym and you move for an hour or two, but that's the only movement you do the entire day, and then you go back home to sit down again, to eat a meal, to sit and relax, to do other work, your side project, whatever it is, and then you go to bed. And you end up with 2,000 total steps by the end of the day because you got up and walked to the bathroom enough times, or you got up and got food. Okay, so if you're not moving, your body's not going to be good at moving. So the first thing that you need to do is not try to find this special regimen of manipulating your body in very specific, convoluted ways that may have merit, and they may be completely accurate to being able to help you with a specific problem that you do have. But those things are tools to be used later on down the line after you've hit the prerequisite before it. The prerequisite before it is moving at bare minimum. You need to be moving to start with. If you already don't have any sort of daily activity, your body isn't moving through its normal ranges of motion at every joint, and it's not getting exposed to regular movement, then it's going to lock itself down into whatever posture that it is that you're normally in. And if you're normally hunched over in a chair at a computer like this, you're seated, all these muscles that are going to be in the front of you, in the front of your hips, are going to lock themselves down. You're going to be in a way too lengthened position in everything on the back of your hips. That's going to be destabilizing your hips. You have no control over the actual pelvis itself. You have no control over your breathing because you're hunched over like this, and you start doing some more mouth breathing rather than nasal, which is another thing that has a lot more factors to it than what I'm going to talk about here. And just there's all of these things that come along with our normal daily lives that honestly are just unnatural positions for us to be in for as long as we're always in them. it's not good for you. It's not good for your general movement quality. And the only way that you can actually get that to balance off is not by adding another 10 minutes of stretching mobility drills and corrective exercises to the front end of your training sessions. That's not going to be enough. You doing your 2 hours of training every day is not enough for you to get exposed to those positions that your body can get access to, for them to routinely keep the ability to get there easily. You need to be moving your body so that it will maintain the ability to move. Okay, so primarily that is the first thing to look at when you're looking at having just general issues with movement quality. Your first thing to do is to not look at all the corrective exercises, or rather corrective movement protocols, and just start moving. Get your steps in. I'd recommend at the bare minimum, the very bare minimum, getting 8K a day, so 8,000 a day at the minimum. And then everything above that is going to be better. Technically 10K is what would consider you no longer a sedentary individual. So 10K is a good goal, and everyone should be able to reach that just by allocating a couple of 10-minute slots throughout the day. That shouldn't be any sort of an issue. Okay, so first and foremost, start moving so you can move better. There's not going to be a magic drill that's going to help you unless you've already done the prerequisite work, so that those more fancy, convoluted ways of getting access to those specific positions can actually work for you. Now into the more typical conversation that goes around steps. So steps, it's the biggest contributor to your non-exercise activity thermogenesis total, which is just the portion of your total daily energy expenditure that is from things that have nothing to do with actual structured exercise. Okay, so that includes just you doing the dishes, doing the laundry, just walking around your house, walking to and from the car, just these things that you're going to do to live your life that do involve activity, but it's not you getting on a treadmill, it's not you getting on a bike, it's not you going and lifting weights. Okay, so this is actually a very large proportion of your total daily energy expenditure, and obviously it becomes more so with the more energy you expend doing non-exercise activities. So in an in-season setting or a dieting setting for a bodybuilder, steps is a huge component to actually getting you to your goal of getting as lean as you need to be. So steps are a little bit hard to track in their quality, which is a hurdle. So cardio is really easy for you to track, being that you can set the resistance, you can set exactly how long you're gonna go, you can set, there's so many different details of how you can track it, and you can push variables on it depending on what machine that you might use. That will make it really easy for you to scale and keep exact from day to day. Steps aren't so. You could try and emulate the same heart rate pace. You could try to emulate the exact same distance, and that would be recommended. But to a degree, there's not going to be a way for you to standardize the quality of your steps every day like you would on cardio. You're not going to be able to keep the exact same intensity every day just because you're walking. And if you're walking in free space and you're just doing normal, just going on a walking trail, walking around your neighborhood, things like that, at some point your cardiovascular ability is going to get to the point where you're going to have to almost break into a speed walk or a jog or a run for you to keep your heart rate up where it might be if you were starting there out of shape. So it's not something that you're going to be able to scale in the same way that you could cardio. You can't just pipe up the resistance a little bit and get the heart rate to come back up. You're just gonna have to maintain the same or do a little bit more steps over time to maintain the amount of energy that you're going to be expending through doing it as your cardiovascular ability improves. Okay? So on an in-season, oh, there's a dog in the corner. There you go. During the in-season, having steps high can help you to make sure that you're actually going to be staying in a position where you can get a deficit to happen, and you're doing so with a low impact method of actually getting your energy expenditure. So at some point, cardio is going to be really, really difficult for you to continue to tack more time onto because there is an impact to it. There is a recovery variable involved with it. It isn't easy for you to go from a half an hour to 40 minutes to 50 minutes to an hour to higher. And after you get past an hour of cardio, going beyond that point can be a little bit extra daunting for every single little increment that you go above it. And it may end up getting you to the point where you're going to be suffering with your recovery and your ability to perform in your training because of the fact that you push the cardio so far and so hard. Because there is an impact. With steps, there is still going to be an impact because it's still energy expenditure, and to any degree, you having a higher amount of energy expenditure is going to take away energy. Duh. So you're going to feel a little bit more run down with really, really high steps because you're in a deeper deficit. But it's not going to be the same as you doing the cardio. You're not going to be sore from doing more steps. You're not going to be as run down. You can kind of scale your intensity level pretty easily. You're not going to be needing to run at all because it's not cardio. Keeping yourself reasonable, but just making sure that you hit the amount of steps that you need to every day is fairly easy. So being able to do that and scale your energy expenditure during an in-season when you're dieting, keeping a base level so that you can have maybe food a little bit higher, or you can accelerate the rate of fat loss that you can get by having more total energy expended during the day with less impact. It's a win. It's a win. In an off-season setting, steps can be your best friend. So what can happen when we get into an off-season and we're pushing up calories and your meals are getting bigger and digestion starts to get a little bit harder? Your body doesn't want to really help you along with getting the transit of all of your meals out so that you can stack another one on top. At some point in the off-season, you're going to have a hard time with getting your digestion to clear with enough time that you're going to be hungry for the next meal. So being able to do more steps, and especially interspersing them along periods of time between meals, can help you to clear your digestion a little bit faster. It will help you with your gastric emptying, and it'll help you also with being able to shuttle, utilize, and assimilate the food that you are eating. So one of the main concerns that we have during a pushing up phase, a bulking phase, an off season, whatever you want to call it, is that at some point you're going to have struggles with some insulin sensitivity issues, especially if you're really, really pushing it. So when you have insulin sensitivity issues, you can put in as much food as you want, but the proportion of energy that's going to be sent to muscle tissue to help repair, build, and create new tissues, as opposed to creating fat tissues, that proportion is going to get ever more skewed the more you have insulin sensitivity issues. So if you're in a push-up and there's a lot of food, your digestion isn't perfect, you're not really moving all that much, and your insulin sensitivity is going out the window, and you can tell this by just, you feel lethargic after every meal, you feel like you have to take a nap, you're foggy, you just have absolutely no desire to do anything other than just go right to bed on the couch. Okay, so those are all telltale signs that your insulin sensitivity is going down the tank, and you really, really, really do not want to have that battle, because once it started and it started rolling downhill, it's going to be very hard to save. So trying to stay ahead of it from the start and making sure that you're expending energy during the day to kind of counterbalance off some of the energy that's going in, not so that you can negate the surplus, but so that you're having activity to be fueled by the food that you're eating, and having these passive methods, low impact methods of just walking for 10, 15 minutes before or after, preferably after a meal. You walking and having a not exercise, but you're still moving and being active, your body is going to require energy. Your body always requires energy. But when you have direct food that is fueling that energy, it's going to be pulling it and help. Your body will help to shuttle the nutrients that you have eaten to where it should be so that it can fuel the activity that you're doing in the moment. So that, as well as the increase in blood flow, the circulation gets better, nutrient delivery gets better. You're going to have also doing a 10-minute walk this is a Stan efforting thing as well. The 10-minute walk that he does after every meal, and he actually has his athletes do this. It can help you more than some popular diabetes medication in shuttling nutrients. So just general activity can be as good as a pharmaceutical medication for helping you to allocate nutrients better. Now, does that not sound like it's a huge help when you're already having some trouble with digestion? You're having a little bit of trouble with actually staying awake. So just being active in itself is going to help you to stay alert. You being able to get the nutrients to where it's supposed to be and change a little bit in an acute manner the direction or the proportionality of where the energy is going to be sent to, whether it's fat or muscle tissue or to direct use. That's going to be a positive. As well as you may even be in a position where you can tolerate more and more food and it's going to the right places, and you're not having to worry as much about the proportion of it that's going to fat tissue. Because if you're always active and you're consistently active, you're going to have better partition of the nutrients that you are eating. So that would be its greatest application for the off season. So basically what I'm getting at here is we're human beings, and overall just being active is a good thing. And the way that we're living our lives as the typical population, just about everybody is sitting in a chair just like the one that I'm sitting in, over a desk with their computer for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on end. We eat our meals in between that if we're bodybuilders, strongmen, powerlifters, whatever, because we have a goal. But when we start pushing extremes on the system and we're already not treating our body the way that it's really supposed to be, we're going to have some negative side effects that come as a result. So no matter what the season is, whether or not you're cutting or you're bulking or whatever you want to name those phases, just being generally active at all times, no matter what, if you don't even have a physique or performance-based goal, is going to be good for your general overall health. Always. Always. None of that is to even mention the mental health benefits of going and taking a walk in nature, or just going and being separate from all the things that anchor you. So having your work from your phone, having emails popping up, notifications, things that you got to do, to-do lists everywhere, having your laptop sitting in front of you or in the room next to you, or all of these things that draw at your attention all the time and put you into this like constant state of like stress and anxiety over all the things that encompass your environment. A lot of those things can be avoided, at least to the degree that you can go and occupy yourself with just sitting with your own thoughts for a period of time, going and walking. Walking is therapeutic. Seriously, the rhythmic motion of walking is therapeutic, just like for runners, that runner's high is therapeutic. That rhythmic ability to just keep on moving at a constant pace, our body is built for doing this. Okay, we're specifically built to be able to do these things. We're very good at it. So we are actually, as a further aside, what our body is built best to do in our musculoskeletal structure is built in such a way that we are super duper efficient at reciprocal motion. And we're built that way so that we can be really good at reciprocal motion, like walking and running, throwing, things like that. So basically what we're built for is walking and breathing. Walking and breathing. And what do we do when we're going out for a walk? We're walking and breathing. We're connecting with the base function of what our bodies are really built to do. We're connecting with this therapeutic method of rhythmic motion that doesn't necessarily have to be super high impact, that can help us just to it helps us to stay healthy physically, but it also gives you the ability to actually feel a little bit more at peace, have a better sense of well-being. having this better sense of well-being throughout your day, or even just at the end of your day. Because one of the things that I personally do myself is I have a couple of different walks during the day. I have a morning, a middle of the day, and a night. And when I go for a walk at night, that is by far the best walk of the day. It's quiet, there's nobody around, it's dark, so it's calming, and you can just hear the sound of nature around you. Now, if you live in an urban jungle, it's not going to be exactly the same, and to a degree, I kind of feel bad for you if you don't have the sound of nature around you at all, because it is really nice. But that's an aside. Going out and being at peace with the world, being at peace with yourself, or at least just giving yourself the opportunity to not be at peace with yourself. If you're going through days of getting tasks written off the to-do list all the time, and you're under constant pressure from this, that, and the other thing, you going out and having an opportunity that you had to force yourself to be alone and not connected to those things gives you an opportunity for you to confront the thoughts that you weren't able to confront for the entire day. All of the things that built up that you just had to, when it came up, you had to push it aside because you had something else to deal with at the time. All of those things, they don't just go away. They sit there, and they'll sit there and they'll fester and they'll become a bigger thing, and you won't necessarily notice it until the point where it draws your attention, because the downstream effect of its problem that it created is too big for you to ignore, and it becomes one of the things on the to-do list. You can avoid that by just spending a little bit of time sitting with your own thoughts and just being a human being in the world, which is something that is just invaluable. And it's not something that you could put any sort of a price tag on, having your own mental health, or being able to at least exert some control over being able to sit and be by yourself and be okay with that. It's completely undervalued in today's society. So I would recommend, for at least a couple of minutes a day, that you go for a walk and you don't have any sort of influence from the outside. You're not listening to anything. You're not looking at anything on your phone. If you have your phone with you, you've deactivated your notifications. Just be at peace with the world. Be at peace with yourself. And if you're not at peace, then take some time to figure out exactly why and dig into it and have a personal minute. Okay? Aside from that, it's also a good opportunity for you to expand your mind a little bit, and you can listen to a podcast or video education or something like that you can just put on, listen to, and walk. Now, that's something that I do as well that is really helpful for me, where a lot of times I get sucked into things and my brain just won't stop thinking about the thing that I have directly in front of me. But trying to be a more well-rounded person is something that is a personal goal of mine, and I would suggest that everybody else should really have that same goal in mind. Being one-dimensional it's fine until you meet somebody that's, multiple dimensions deeper than you and you can't hold a conversation. So find things that you're passionate about other than just the one thing that is primarily on your mind, your job or your favorite hobby, because this is my job and my hobby. So this is what most of my life is consumed with. But I like to go out of my way to go and find other topics that I find interesting. So like history, unrelated science, mathematics, criminology, current events, stuff like that just has absolutely no bearing on what it is that any of the content that I might be consuming or creating myself within this space. All of those things have positive influences on the person that I am and the way that I see the world, understand it, and I can be better at being the person I need to be for my content creation myself, my understanding of the world around me, and then just being a better person for all the people that rely on me or are in my ecosystem. So do not underestimate these small meditative moments that you get to have, where you can expand yourself and take an opportunity to be better than you were the day before, or be better than you were 10 minutes before you took your 10-minute walk. The general point that I'm trying to get across here is that activity Just general activity for human beings is a good thing. It is not to be avoided, and in most cases, just the way that we live our normal lives does just that, and it does it in a way that we're not always keen to recognize, just because it feels normal that like nobody moves. It feels normal because all of our jobs are pretty much sedentary. A lot of us right now especially are working from home, so it's easier than ever to just do nothing but sit. There's nothing in the world right now that makes us feel compelled for us to go out of our way to do extra activity unless you're somebody that is actually interested in general training for fitness. But even then, that only blocks off a very specific and targeted period of time where you are training for that thing. But that's not the whole picture. It may help, and it does help, but it's not the whole picture. And we can do that training better if we were generally more active. We could have a better headspace if we were generally more active. Our general health markers, the things that we can actually quantify, will be better if we're more active. Our ability to achieve weight loss goals, fat loss goals more specifically, will be enhanced with more general activity. Our ability to tolerate what we do to our bodies as we try to push our weight up will be better tolerated with more general activity. Overall, the opportunity that having more general activity gives us, more steps gives us, is just to be better overall people and to do everything that we're already doing a little bit better. So as much as it could very easily be something that you just brush under the rug and you only think about like it's only for energy. It's just energy expenditure. I could just do more cardio, or I could just do my mobility work before my training, or I could just do, I don't know, I could just eat less food in my dieting phase. I could just eat less food in my bulking phase. I could take more digestive supplements. I could take insulin, whatever. All of these things that can just be patched over the issues that come up from us not being active people, where our bodies are made to be active. It can all just be very, very easily remedied and never made a problem again by just being diligent and recognizing that we are just better people when we're more active people, and making sure that you're taking the opportunity to treat yourself with respect enough to go out and make sure that you are taking time for yourself out of your day to make sure that you are mentally and physically healthy. Respect yourself enough to go and take care of your mental and physical health in this super duper simple way. Super easy, super simple, takes really no effort to do other than you just getting yourself ready to get out the door. Take care of yourselves. Think about taking time for you, because you can't be the best you if you're not healthy. All right, you guys, so that is it for another video from the Building a Foundation series from me, Coach Nick Gloff, with Team Camp Jansen. Now, if you haven't watched the rest of my videos, I would definitely recommend that you do. If you haven't watched any of Nadia's or Matt Berzicott's or Matt Jansen's videos, definitely go and check out all of their videos on the site, on the YouTube, everywhere that you can find us. Okay? So everybody's got something different to offer. Everybody's got some great perspectives, a lot of knowledge. This is just an absolute treasure trove with the videos here. So I would recommend that you get on those. If you have any questions for any of us, make sure that you can hit us up on Instagram, anywhere that we can be found with our socials. Hit us up. We all would love to field your questions and help you out in any way that we can. And I'll be back next Monday with another video. Peace.